up, Buttercup? Thank you for joining me today for the 10 books that are actually, truly, for sure worth the hype, in my humble opinion. Now, the hype would be either online, which is the majority of these books, or in person, where at least 5 people recommended a book to me. And through that, I read it and it was amazing. So all of these books are fantastical. I love them. Like I said, the majority of them have been hyped up online, namely YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. And then there's a couple that have been hyped up in person. And actually the first book will be an in-person hype up. It's The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. And I'm just gonna go with yes to all the books, okay? Now, I was told in middle school by a number of readers around my age, or like a little older, that I should read Aragon, the first book. And I did. It was scary at first, okay? This is me in, when was it? Like 7th grade, maybe 6th grade, middle school. I was just still getting into reading thicker books, and I was a little nervous, can't lie. I mean, y'all have seen Aragon and the subsequent books in that series, and for a middle schooler, a little scary. But I was told by a bunch of people, you gotta read it, it just came out, you need to get on it, Nicole. And so I did, and it was amazing. Now, I do hear people say when they're reading it as adults that they can't connect with the book, and some things are just silly or whatever, which it's for young adults. Okay, I didn't hear anyone my age or even 5 years older, so like middle school and high schoolers, I didn't hear any of that feedback. I'm sure they're out there, but that was a very popular book. Dozens upon dozens of people in middle school and high school, they all loved it. Keep that in mind. I mean, it's young adult. It's for young adults. Like, truly, not when you see, I'm gonna be shady here and I don't even care, the new young adult books that are actually meant for 30-something-year-old women. No, that's not it. Aragon and the Inheritance Cycle as a whole, they're for young adults. Mind-blowing, right? Okay, so maybe if you're not open-minded to reading an actual young adult book or book series, then possibly pass. But if you're into it, I suggest The Inheritance Cycle. Number 2 was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Amazing. At the time it came out, or like a couple years after it came out, I don't even remember, it's a blur, I was on Twitter. It was a while ago. I'm not on Twitter anymore and haven't been for like 3-4 years. But that book was all over the place, y'all. All over the place. So I was like, okay. I mean, y'all did not do a great job with the Holly Black book. Was it like, oh, The Cruel Prince. Okay, I gave that book 3 stars. It was fine. I don't know why people hyped that one up so much. So then I was like, okay, I will give this one a try. It is an adult historical fiction. We'll see how that goes, but I was burned with The Cruel Prince, so I was hesitant. But you know what? Perfect 5 out of 5 stars. Nothing is wrong to me with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Nothing needs to be changed. Nothing, don't touch it at all. It is perfection. It is art. Don't, just leave it there and just bask in Taylor's glory of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Amazing. Obviously, you should read it. Number 3, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Now, actually, there were quite a few people that were saying that it should be not published. Yes, Twitter thinking that it has the right to tell people what and what not to publish or what and what not to write. I'm sure it's still happening, but for the people that were sane, they were recommending My Dark Vanessa, and it is a very uncomfortable and difficult book. However, I think that it's a very important book as well. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean that it shouldn't be read or published. And that is in my top 10 books of all time. It's a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. Though going into it, yes, this is a book from the victim's point of view of being groomed and assaulted by her teacher, and how she goes about life after she graduates from high school and all the bad things that come from it. So yes, trigger warning for sure, but if you can handle that type of book, I definitely recommend it. Number 4, The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. This is another 5 out of 5 star book for me. Perfection. It is a feminist thriller. We love to see it. And I was told to read this book first out of the other Ira Levin books. And I was into it because it's not even 230 pages, and that is good for me because there are some thriller and suspense books, like they're pushing 400 pages and more, and I'm like, what? It's not a thrilling or suspenseful book if you keep adding just crap to it. Can we just get back to the shorter books for thriller, suspense, mystery? Like, because you can only push it so much. But I was very happy to see that it's, you know, I don't even think it's 230 pages. It is simply written, but not in a bad way. The story is what's important, and there are clues all over the place in every chapter of like what's going to happen and like what characters are actually thinking or actually doing, and it's just perfection. It is a fantastic book that I recommend for anyone who wants to read classic thriller / horror. I can see why people would say it's horror. I can see why people say it's thriller. Just overall, it's creepy. But sometimes you need to have a creepy book talk about the issues that are going on at that time, because it was from the 60s going into the 70s. Don't watch the new movie like from 2004. That was trash. Okay. But the movie from the 70s of the Stepford Wives, that's actually pretty close to the book. So if you want to, pick up the book first and then watch that particular movie from the 70s. We don't talk about the one from the 2000s. That doesn't exist, okay? Moving on to number 5, Circe by Madeline Miller. This was another hyped up book on Twitter and on YouTube, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There's a lot of purple prose and flowery language, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So that's why it couldn't be 5 stars. But it is a fantastic story, and the characterization of Circe and the character arc really shone through. That's why I could get through the purple prose and flowery language. Also, the cover is so pretty. Number 6, The Grace Year by Kim Leggett. This was talked about a lot on Twitter, but not really on BookTube. I don't know where that disconnect happened, but we're still here. I really enjoyed this young adult horror dystopian novel, 5 out of 5 stars. The world is worse than Puritanism. Every year, a group of young women, young adults, turn a specific age, and that group goes out into the world in this little like walled off town, and they're there for a year, the Grace Year. Basically, they kill each other in this little walled off town, and then the survivors come back, and then they're welcomed into the world of marriage and pumping out babies for the men. So You would think, that sounds horrible, Nicole. No, but I mean, that concept is really bad. That's why it's like a dystopian horror. Like, what are you expecting? But what happens with the main character and at the end, it's like perfection. Perfection. Number 7, The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. Now, this is a contemporary book. I read it quite some time ago, but I still think about it from time to time, but I don't like bring it up. I don't know why. So sorry. It is 5 stars because it really deals with grief and pain, and how do you handle a loved one's suicide, and what does the aftermath look like of the people that are left. It's very beautiful. Is it upsetting? Absolutely. A little uncomfortable? Yes. I cried quite a few times, but I think that's the beauty of art and telling a difficult story. Number 8, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Yes, of course, I put this book on the list. I was seeing so many people saying on Goodreads, actually, that it was a perfect book. And yes, it is. It's a 5-star perfect book. Don't change anything about it, Barbara. I know you won't, but like, I'm just saying. It is the, I guess you could say, redneck version of David Copperfield. I've seen the redneck part a lot, so like that's in my brain, but I would say it's the Appalachian version of David Copperfield. That sounds better, and it's not as rude. We follow Demon, or Damon, and he's Malusian, which means that he is triracial, but there's a specific history and genetic component to Malusians, and they have a certain look, and they are in West Virginia, Kentucky, and like another state, but like the states all kind of come together, and there's about, the last I checked, 250,000 Malusians, and his nickname is Demon because he has bright red hair, and it doesn't make sense to people's minds. Like, he looks a certain way, but then he has red hair, and I'm pretty sure he has what eye color does he have? It's like a hazel or green. I'm blanking on his eye color, but it's very interesting. You could say that he's a little bit of an outcast, but for the most part, people treat him very well. What he has to face is generational trauma, abusive mother, being in the foster care system and the abuse within the foster care system, and then also opioid addiction. So the book is pretty lengthy. It's like over 550 pages, and you would think, okay, well, that would be a little too much. Like, how far can you take all of that without it being just depressing? But one, yes, it is depressing. However, Barbara writes it in a very poignant way, and we have hope throughout the whole book. So it's not hopeless or even helpless, even though those two things are there. But Demon is an amazing character, and I was reading this book thinking that he was a real person. That's how amazing Barbara's writing and storytelling is, and I was just so happy by the end of the book that he did get a happily ever after. Though there are still continual struggles for Demon because he is forever addicted to opioids, and that's a lifelong process. He is ahead, finally, and I am so glad to have listened to the hype for Demon Copperhead. Number 9, Emily Wilde book series by Heather Fawcett. I actually saw this on Goodreads, not anywhere else. And so I was like, oh, that cover is amazing. I just love it. Don't you love it? It's so pretty. The first book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Do start with that one. If you read the second one, it doesn't make sense. But this is cozy fantasy, I would say. It is just so fun and so cute and funny and imaginative. We follow Emily Wilde, who is an expert on fairies, and she is trying to create an encyclopedia all about fairies for her career as a college professor. And this is her goal, to get an encyclopedia with all of the information so everyone can understand fairies and the other lands and all that stuff. And lastly, number 10, God is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. This is different. This is gonna be different. It's actually a mix of in-person suggestions by other atheists and online by other atheists, and also my husband suggested it. So, I mean, there was a lot of suggestions, therefore I had to try it out, and I did, and I gave it 4 stars. Sometimes Christopher Hitchens meanders, goes on little rants, I might come back, but still great, even though God is not great. I think that he makes some excellent points about all religions, not just the Abrahamic religions, and we do appreciate the criticism of all religions. So if you can get over a little bit of his meanderings off topics, but he brings them back, so it's fine, and then like random rants, and then he brings it back. Some find it funny. I was like, can we get to the topic? Because you've done this 5 times already, but it's totally fine. I do recommend this book. Thank you so much for watching my 10 books that are absolutely worth the hype. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.